General Hera. I had some problems with her as well in this show. I'm frustrated with all three of these female characters. These heroines are excellent in the animated series. Ahsoka is one of my favorite all-time Star Wars characters in the animated series. All-time favorites. I have her figurine up there with Captain Rex. I got her clone trooper thing. She's great. Sabine Wren grew on me over the time of watching Rebels. She's a cool character. And Hera is a really cool character from Rebels. In this one, they make her a general, and she's just as wooden as Ahsoka and Sabine. It's almost like these have the look and name of the character, but the actresses got in there, and you would think they would bring new life to them. It's like the actresses got in there, and then just all the life of the character deflated out of them, and they're just like these.
Is that a director thing? That was what they wanted? Like, everybody, you got to be like serious and stoic.
Some of it's some of it is definitely the director, because as a director, one of your jobs is to coax the performance out of the actor. Sometimes they do all sorts of things. In Alien, remember when it first pops out of Kane? They didn't tell the actors that what they were going to do. So they had the cameras rolling, and when that alien pops out, and the actress, I forget her name, she plays Lambert. She's like, ah! She freaks the F out on that set because she didn't know it was going to happen. That's the take they used. That is the director capturing genuine terror out of her out of his actress in that scene. And there's all sorts of stories like this in Hollywood where the director did something to get the performance that they wanted. There's no evidence in Ahsoka that the director made any attempt to get any other performance level out of the actresses, because it's almost like his thing was, you're here. You're Ahsoka. Be Ahsoka. It reminds me of when I was a kid and I did films with my buddies. You make the costume and you're so happy with it that when you're on camera, you spend a lot of time kind of with these these squinty-eyed looks. You're doing all sorts of this stuff because you're showing off the character is a visual thing only. It is not fleshed out. So the best you can do as a child is to kind of pose, give this sort of, again, ambiguous stuff, like, go find out where they went. You're very stripped down, basic level acting. That's what this was. So to me, this just smacked of amateurism in as a director, and the actresses didn't seem to do much with it. And I like Rosario Dawson a lot, but there was no performance out of these actresses. And talking about generals, Hera looks awfully young to be a general. You can always argue that's arguable. Someone could say, well, this person, Alexander the Great, whatever. But it's like, okay, let's say the age isn't an issue. Then I want to see competency and authority out of this person, someone who knows what's going on. And these characters in episode 2 were like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to strip down the Imperial Star Destroyers and take out all the stuff. And she's like, did anyone ever go check on that? And they're like, ooh, boy, I thought someone, dude, you forgot to check on Corellia if they were stripping the Star Destroyers? I don't know how any bureaucracy at any incompetent level misses something that big and only discovers it in passing conversation. Well, boy, let's go check on that. Let's go check on Corellia. That's terrible. Terrible writing. And then there's even a scene where General Hera is confronted with this supervisor. I forget what he was called. I actually wrote it down. He was he was some sort of supervisor of this dismantling process. Anyway, regional something. Anyway, he's like, I can't let you see that. That's classified. And she's like, I'm a general. I can make this really tough inspection. He's like, all right. And then when she gets through, she looks at Ahsoka and gives kind of that showed him a little smirk. And I'm like, no general is impressed with themselves when their orders are followed. If you're a general, you're not just a general in title. Your culture, the military hierarchy has bestowed this upon you from years of experience. Your authority is unquestionable. Every military order knows that you don't just question authority, that there is a chain of command. So let me ask you this. Would you ever imagine a scene in a World War II movie with General Patton or MacArthur where he's like, let me through? And they're like, I don't think I should, sir. And then he's like, well, I'm a general, don't you know? And then looking at his subordinate, told you I could get him. Could you ever imagine a World War II general being so proud of himself that someone obeyed their order? That's not how a general acts. So I don't know what she was drawing upon, who she was channeling. I don't know what her thinking was there to play this role. But if you're a general, you have unquestioned authority. It's not for him to tell you what's classified or unclassified. Only your superior officer could tell you that. And there's a defined chain of command. And Heath, I know you're really smart about military issues. I'm sure you would even be more rigid on this.
I hated that scene. I was going to get to it because I got my own thing to say about that. Because that's with this, it was that Hera scene. So I believe that's in episode 2.
2.
Okay. So Hera, General of the Republic here, has already established that she's skeptical of what personnel might be at this facility. They might be Imperials, or still loyal to the Empire. Because they were doing that. So that she knows that she doesn't feel comfortable in that environment. She expects there might be spies or people with uncertain loyalties right there in that facility. So that's already been established. But then when they're up there in the control room and she says, what kind of fleet, what ship is that for? And he says, that's classified. And her response is, I'm a general. Nothing is classified to me. I'm like, that's not how classification works, because you also have to have need to know. I mean, that's basically, it might work differently in Star Wars, but if it does, you've got to establish that. Because no general would go, oh, well, nothing is classified to me. No, things can be classified to generals all the time if they have no need to know that particular information. So her expectation there that just being a general is supposed to give her access to all classified things is weird, at least. But then she orders him to tell, like, I'm ordering you to expose the information. Even if she can do that, and there is no limit to what her being a general can get her access to, she's in an unsecure environment. She has no idea who else is there. She has no idea who is listening. It might be uncleared personnel to hear that particular information that she would be exposing the information to in an environment where she already has cause to believe that there are enemy operatives in the room.
But
why?
So in the U.S. Civil War, when the Confederacy surrendered, Union troops moved in and occupied cities. They took over all of the armories. Like, you secure all of the high value targets of that society that you're moving into. This was almost like they made it seem like the Republic's like, the Empire's gone. Everyone go about your business. And then like years later, someone's like, has anyone ever checked on, Lockheed Martin? And they're like, no, like, oh, silly me. Let's go check on Lockheed Martin real quick. And then when they get there, they're like, I don't care if you're a general, this is classified. Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is lacking functionality. Totally. Because also, he wouldn't necessarily know if it's classified, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of times these bureaucrats and these smaller roles would be like, oh, it's not letting me pull it up. It says that's classified.
Well, that's what I would have thought. That like there's something on his,
Right. And then she could say, override, classify, General Hera override 6166B. And then it projects onto her eyes only device and she can read it. Like, to me, that would show some level of organization on the part of the New Republic. This made it seem like the New Republic was a recess with 2 lunch ladies. And now they're walking around the schoolyard seeing which Imperials are up to no good and which rebels may not be playing by the rule. Like, that is not there's no scenario where that is the case. In human history, that's not how it works when you've subdued. Like, we still have bases in Japan and in Germany from World War II, the United States. You don't just walk out of these places. You occupy them and you make sure that this thing does not reconstitute. They made it seem like they told the Empire, hey, are you gonna ever reconstitute? And the Empire, like, nope. And behind their back, they're like this. And they duped them. They got them. They crossed their fingers, and the Jedi and the New Republic forgot to check on Corellia for all these years. It's so unbelievable that to me, it destroys the believability and the function of the scene. Hera doesn't seem real. The conflict doesn't seem real. I like the idea of Imperials still working for the New Republic. By the way, that was a big problem in Eastern Europe after the fall of the Soviet Union. Most of the administrators were ex-communists that had continued to run the bureaus of the new democratic Poland or Czech, or what were some of the other ones? some of the Stan countries that came out of it. Ukraine, they were ex-communists. That's all they knew, but they were the ones who had the expertise and knowledge. That's a believable scenario, but it is not believable that nobody picked on them. It's impossible to believe. And if it's true, then the New Republic is the most incompetent group of galactic administrators in the history of this galaxy and others.